Google had huge migration of the whole systems, multi-time, and big components like spell correction and so on, they were completely rewritten multiple times. And it will be true for any system, right, what you build. And it's really important to build this as a core of your system to make it evolvable.
Hello and welcome to the AI Master Group podcast, featuring the people who are building the future of AI in their work today. I'm your host, Jim Griffin. Today I have got a very special guest, Dr. Andrei Lopatenko, who has over 2 decades of experience in building large-scale AI systems, focusing on things like search and recommendation and personalization engines. He's worked at Google, at Apple, Walmart, eBay, Zillow. Most recently, Andrei was the VP of Engineering and AI at Zillow, where he led teams specializing in things like customer-facing AI, search and recommendation, user understanding and personalization, NLP, LLM science, many things. Dr. Lopatenko earned his PhD in computer science at the University of Manchester, UK. Welcome, Andrei.
Hello, Jim. Thank you very much for inviting me here. Greatly honored and appreciating this.
So, obviously, you've got one of the most impressive resumes out there in the field of Gen AI. Can you tell me, unwrap a little bit more, a bit about your story, what brought you to this point?
Yeah, thank you for asking. So perhaps I can talk my story a little bit more like by topic rather than by chronological area. So most of my story is focused on building large scale, large like high load AI-based system. I did my PhD in the University of Manchester, United Kingdom, and it was traditional logic-based AI for data integration. And it was a lot of about search, but more like traditional, very logical, like a database type of search distributed systems. And it was good experience, but I was always motivated to bring a big impact to the people, to community, to society. And that's why I decided to move to industry rather than continue purely academic career. And at that moment, like 2006, when I got my PhD, Google was #1 company, and of course, everyone talked about Google search, and of course, Google had this special like culture, impact on society, don't be evil. So for me, it was certainly the place to go. It was Google in 2006. I went to Google, and I was very lucky. In Google, it was you don't apply to a particular department at the moment. You apply to Google, whatever role they give you, you should be happy. And I was very lucky. Yeah, I was very lucky to get into Google search, and not just Google search, but some. I cannot even say the name of the team now because it's the core team of the core Google search, the most important ranking component. I got in Google and I started in Google Zurich, Switzerland. I spent 1 year there, and after that I was relocated to Google Mountain View in California. And since that, like it's defined a lot of my journey. First, I really enjoyed in building applications, AI-based, machine learning-based applications for billions of customers. This is what I've done even after Google. And I also learned a lot about how to build high-quality engineering culture, how I build high-quality science culture, how to interconnect science and engineering, how to build high-quality products, software products. So that was a lot of learning for me, which kind of defined my career afterwards. After Google, where I was working on core search ranking and also some universal and local search, I moved to Apple. And in Apple, I built first Apple Map Search. We started as 2 people, then the team is expanded, and then also significantly improved Apple App Store search and other media properties of Apple, which are Even at that moment, they were very big. I think it was more than $10 billion. I don't remember exact number, but huge impact to iPhone ecosystem. So it was not just only search application. It was a very big impact how people use iPhones and what apps they use. And also Apple Maps, of course, very significantly used by many people. After that, I moved more to leadership roles, so both delivering science but also leading team. So I started working for Walmart, in Walmart, building the search teams and also a lot of NLP-based applications for business, but mostly search engine of Walmart, leading the science team. And of course, Walmart has multiple different companies. It's not only Walmart, Sam's Club, other properties. We built Walmart grocery from scratch as separate search properties. So it was multiple different search engines, but also a lot of science, engineering, ranking, query understanding, NLP, many other areas how to build better search with very big impact on the company business. After that, I was leading like engineering for Recruit Holding. It's a very big holding in Japan of more than 100 companies, one of the leading inside Japanese market, but they also own indeed the United States, leading engineering for that AI lab. And the most recent role of mine is Zillow, where I was a VP of AI engineering, leading search discovery, basically means search, recommendation, personalization, growth AI, marketing AI, teams which face customers, but also user understanding, which has a lot of both customer and business value, like home understanding, which of course used in search recommendation, but well beyond like evaluation and so on. Building LLM platform, science, evaluation of models, training models. So a lot of stuff which has very big consumer value, but also facing customers. And kind of coming back, I think this is like one theme topic across all my career: large scale, high load, AI based like applications, both like customer facing, consumer facing, but also heavy enterprise platform which are very based on AI, which are heavily based on AI.
One thing I don't want to miss the opportunity to ask about is to imagine somebody who's a PhD already showing up at Google as a new recruit and being randomly assigned to a team. You don't get to decide what team you're going to be on, and you're just a member of a team. You're just there.
Yeah, it's a really good question, and I believe this question, besides historical, has a lot of value how to create good teams. So I think it's a very forward-looking question rather than past-looking, right? It was awesome, honestly. First of all, when you come to a search team in Google in 2006, I think it was like 99% of PhDs, right? Almost everyone. It was like team was not as now. It's not 1,000 people. It's like 60 people, and Google was already first, like search engine first in the world, right, across all languages, besides like few countries. And we see people with PhD in logic, in computational complexity, and they have top papers in top conferences. Yeah, it was really interesting environment. PhD in some very interesting, most of like theoretical areas of computer science, and somehow there are very few PhDs in information retrieval or NLP, right? There were a few, but not so many. Almost everyone was PhD, but it can be logic, computational, theoretical computer science, something else, right? So this was environment where all these PhDs were converted, to be good researchers, but also to become good engineers. And I think this is one of really important as you build new teams, right? It's not necessary to hire all PhDs, but to give this very strong development opportunity, learning, and this is what Google really excelled at the moment, and what make also journey exciting there. You have already PhD, but you don't know how to handle, right, 1 billion customers per day, 5 billion queries per day, and so on. And you learn not just C++ skills, but those very special how to write high quality software, which can load so many like queries, right? Which can be scalable, which can be uptime 99, many nines after the dot. And I think that's why I kind of coming back. It was very exciting for me to work there. What I learned from there, it's like really important if you want to be happy about your job. Kind of never consider, oh, I'm PhD, I'm at the top. Every job gives a lot of learning opportunity, and it's really important to understand what your weak points, right? Weak maybe are opportunity points. You're a great PhD, you publish top papers, but are you good in building high load systems for billions of customers? So are you good in processing 10 billion queries pages per day, and so on, right? And I think that's why all my journey in Google was very exciting through all like 5.5 years I spent there. And because at any moment you can learn something new, you can develop yourself, and it's very enjoyable. And I think it's also coming back from me to me as a leader now. I think for every corporation, for every software like team, it's very important to create this learning environment such that everyone, maybe it's like top person, or maybe this is top engineer who knows how to build very high load systems, but now this engineer has interest how to learn how LLMs work, and this person can learn and use this in their practice, or scientists can learn engineering, or just like to give opportunity, not to force people, right? Not to like you must do this, but really gives them opportunity of continuous learning and continuous development. I think it makes people happy. Second, people use this, and once they're happy and they're like self-developing, they're much more productive. So that environment in Google, being PhD there and having other PhDs and continuously learning, I really appreciate, and I think it's very important to create such environment in companies.
Ah, that's so true. You know, in the concept of learning, there are these at least two forks to it. One is what you're learning on the job. You're part of a team and the team is doing something that's stretching you on your job. And then the other aspect of learning is what you're learning outside your job. Maybe you're reading papers, maybe you're attending webinars or so forth. And one of the things that I noticed that you also excel at is just this complete fire hose of information that you post all the time. Every day, there's something that you're sharing. And I think to myself, I would have to be a speed reader on steroids in order to even keep up with all the things that you're sharing. But you're obviously sharing them because you're aware of them. How do you do that?
Like coming back, why I believe continuous learning is super important for every professional, and actually it becomes more important as you grow in your career, right? Because you kind of oversee more cross-functional functions, right? And like I've noticed the biggest mistake people do in their career, they stop growing. They believe, okay, I'm really good leader. What I do is enough, right? And okay, there is a science team. I will just appoint some science manager, and they will do for me. Or opposite, maybe like someone you like leading science, and now they own whole science team, but also marketing and science, because marketing belong like using science. I don't like, and people say I don't want to learn what they do. It's simple, and I think it's the biggest mistake, like continuous learning, understanding your continuous gap between yes, you're good now in that, and that, but you have to understand also something new, and you're not good in that. Understanding your weak points and self-developing is really important.
You're listening to the AI Master Group podcast.
Understanding your continuous gap between yes, you're good now in that, and that, but you have to understand also something new, and you're not good in that. Understanding your weak points and self-developing is really important, right? So this is kind of what to do. How to do it? What I found, again, my personal journey, it's very important to make learning continuous, right? So it does not work if you say, I don't do any learning every day, but I will devote like 20 hours at the end of every 2 weeks, right? Does not really work that. It's hard to focus on for 20 hours, you want to do other stuff. What really works is having regular time. So what I do basically around 2 hours a day, such that I can learn, I can read papers, I can understand what's going on, right? And there are also some hacks, like I've noticed, like for example, assume I want to learn a new area, like for example, recently I wanted to understand deeply how LLM quantization works inside different frameworks, what they do. Some people take the most recent papers, or the most cited papers, and it does not work well because frequently this is a complicated material, right? And as you try to make something solve very hard, immediately it gets too complicated. You sometimes will not for like and solve this task. You get disappointed. So it's really important for moving to every new area which you want to learn in details. Split the journey and kind of okay. First step, go to really high level like white papers or medium posts or something like at that level, or some like conference talks, but more like overview tutorials rather than deep methodical talks, and get high level understanding of that. Next is kind of make deeper, right? Go to more like important papers which decided something, or review papers which review certain methods. Understand that. Then like go like until the last step, like typically 5 steps, and the last step is the most recent research papers and understanding them in full depth. So I think it's important as you learn something new, right? Not to move immediately to the most advanced, the most recent materials, but make your journey like like if you come to university and they teach you like let's say functional analysis, right? You have multiple different levels of classes before you go to the most recent, most advanced class. And I think the same important to apply to your personal journey and not hesitate and not get shy that I'm looking something simple, medium articles rather than going the most recent paper published by Google DeepMind or whatever, right? And but then at the end to DeepMind. So also how I follow Google Scholar update you if there is a paper which refers to this paper, if it cites this paper or very similar to this, and it helps me like there are several different directions which I care deeply about, like fine tuning of LLMs, LLM evaluation, different approaches how to build search and question answering system on LLMs, and there are multiple other like ranking, machine learning based ranking, right, query understanding, and I give everyday updates from Google. Certainly, I don't go through all these 10 papers they send me for each of these areas. Or also you can say like what this scientist published. Like for example, of course, yeah, I'm subscribed like Christopher Manning, several other scientists, Percy Young, right? So every new publication of these people you see and follow. And it gives you pretty good, like sometimes of course new name appears, maybe sometimes they don't cite existing paper. Yes, there are ways how to discover those papers as you browse most recent conferences. But overall, Google Scholar for me is the most important way to get orientation and get about updates, what happened in this area, and what's the most interesting articles to read.
That's great. Well, now, one of the areas where probably a lot of people are following you because you're actually well-known authority in this topic. So there are a lot of POCs that are being done to create Gen AI solutions. And many times I've noticed that people will get to the end of the POC and then they'll stand there wondering, well, how good is that thing? So can you tell me about your experience in measuring performance of Gen AI models?
Yeah, I think what you ask is super important question for whole industry, right? Because there are many successful and there are unsuccessful stories about building generative AI based POCs and making them into production. And there are different, like I think, like each case has own what happened and why, but there are several important stories how to make successful projects and what to avoid to make them not successful. There are different, like building POC is one thing, making production is something else, right? Why? Let's not like assume we have successful POC. So there are a question like how to be sure that your POC is successful. Let's focus on the second part. How to make sure that if your POC is successful, you have good chance to make it good production, right? I think there are several things what I saw restrict making your POC to production. Like not by importance, kind of, but most obvious. Sometimes people make a POC using some tools like Cloud, OpenAI, or whatever, right? And like they build POC, it seems works nice. And then you think, okay, I have to deploy it in production. And then you say, oh, I have 100 million or let's say billion queries per day in my system, right? And I assume for each of these queries, I will send a request to OpenAI. How much will it cost, right? And you get this number which you understand it does not conform to your like expectations, to your budget expectation, to your ROI per query. And it's not necessarily only about costs. In other cases, can be latency of like external API call rather than your internal system. But like I would put them together, right? They're different, but like for convenience, I put them together. Cloud cost, latency, throw output, and depends like what your key system is expected to be. Is it online processing like search system? Is it batch processing such that you have to process documents coming to your system, let's say billion documents per day? Is it stream system such that documents are streamed, like let's say you process phone calls, right? Your company is based on phone call conversations and you want immediately after phone calls finished get this process or typical streaming system. And I think one of the very important thing as you build POC for such, which you want to put in production in future, understand from the very beginning what are operational requirements, and then design your POC. You of course don't do premature optimization, all the details how to squeeze cost a little bit, but kind of to understand, like if for example you expect 1 billion queries per day, right? Then and most probably this system will not work with API based large model access. When you go to some external and pay per call, most probably you will need to have your own system on your cloud, right? And it depends. For other system, it may be very different. Maybe for other system, like buying third party is better. Depends, right? But having high level understanding of your operational requirements and then building your POC for these requirements is really important. And sometimes it's not necessary to build immediately POC for these requirements, but build it evolvable, right? So maybe we don't have time and budget now to invest into fine-tuning our own LLM. Let's fine-tune cloud offering. But like internally, we build systems such that it's easy to migrate in future. And then like assume you did this, and then you build your POC, proved the value, easy to move to production. Or assume you build this giant monolithic system, and very expensive to move to your own LLM, even if you have this. So I see some problems with this. Like moving POC into production with various operational requirements, not taking them into account from very beginning, postponing this to the last moment. You don't need to do premature optimization, but you don't need to do it in the last moment. At least high level understanding, building at the beginning, not doing optimization, but building for optimization is very important. Another what I've noticed is neglect of evaluation, right? So they say company wants to build LLM based use case for certain business task or for customers, and sometimes company like let's say creates some sample of 10 documents. I'm not joking, say sometimes it's not even 1,000, not 110 documents, right? Run them, seems nice, right? But then when they build POC, they do all the stuff, and then they want to scale it up. And they measure like error rate when you scale up to real documents with all different type of information there is much significantly higher than you anticipated. So another thing to be successful in like making your case is creating proper evaluation. And like again, another what I've noticed, like many companies use this open source different evaluation benchmarks. There are plenty of them. I have whole GitHub page. You can look for this about different evaluation benchmarks. And they measure mostly for some particular business task, for some particular NLP tasks, but they don't measure what's really important for your business as you build your use case LLM based, right? And that's what I see like very important as you build POC, really important have understanding what like as a customer experience or business experience tasks this POC is supposed to solve, how to evaluate quality, how to make yes or no decision, what will be risk factors, and they can be very different. Like it's not only about, let's say, hallucinations everyone talks, like about safety, toxical response, right? Racial. You saw there are plenty of those cases which make into the big media, right? And they were not anticipated or mitigated as those companies did this POC to production. So I think building proper evaluation suites, which will be a focus not on abstract NLP tasks, not like purely NLP tasks, but focus what are important quality metrics for your business, what are important safety metrics for your business, and other metrics, risks metrics for your business, is one of the most crucial, which will help you to make right yes no decision, deploy it or not, and when. But also like because typically you develop system to make better evaluation, right? So if you create right evaluation suite, it creates a really good way how your LLM based system develop, such that it really focus on your customers, on your business, rather than it's like you make maybe good some low level NLP task, but it does not really what your customers expect at the end of the system. And creating this evaluation both for LLM model level and also whole system level, right? For example, if you have a search system based on LLM, RAG, fresh LLMs, any other system, it's really important to have this as to build this evaluation and drive your development by evaluation and make good, right or no decision at the end based on your evaluations.
Yeah. So it seems to me that there are little parts and pieces of this that are out there. And correct me if my thinking is wrong. But let's say, for example, one of the things that you just mentioned just now is ensuring that it doesn't say that the solution doesn't come back and say things that are inappropriate in relation to one or another kind of standard of things that you wouldn't want it to be saying. And there may be tools or frameworks that got that thing covered, whatever that thing is that we happen to be talking about, where we don't have to reinvent that whole wheel all the way up from scratch. How do we consider, okay, this thing I can use off the shelf, and this other thing I need to go build, and then this other thing is kind of a blend of those. How do you figure all those things out?
Yes, certainly. Like I was recently asked similar question on my LLM evaluation webinar, right? Like for example, consider evaluation. You want to have your like evaluation data sets and metrics which represents your system, but then how to implement this? Like and building proper evaluation framework is very big task. There are many different things there. How make it to compatible with existing evaluation suites, LLM inference suites. How to make it like scalable to multiple GPU, right? And maybe not frequently want to go to many of those tasks and they are like complicated and big. And of course, if there exist existing framework, like in our case when we talk about LLM evaluations, there are several good talks, several good software suites. We talk especially about Elater UI evaluations set, which is very popular, like most of leaderboards based on this. But it's just example. Certainly important to understand, like for every component of your system, what are your requirements, right? And then understand, can you use existing, like sometimes it's open source, sometimes maybe you want to buy from some vendor, depends, really depends on the case. And what you are, like what drives this? And of course, there are like, like functional requirements, right? But there are also privacy, security, and so on. Price, cost, right? Easiness of integration. Like for example, that's why I talk about Elater AI is good because, for example, if you use VLLM or there are some other inference frameworks, it's compatible, right? So it's like if your environment is based on this, it's very easy to complement this. Assume you have built your own LLM inference system inside your company. So what is it for you? Cheaper to take Elater AI, write this layer which makes compatible, or create your, it may be different task, right? That's why, like I've noticed it's really important for this decision to use your own or have third party is very important for each task where you want, when you have this, understand really well functional, like other requirements like privacy of data, security of data, compliance, and so on, like cost compatible, on how to make it compatible or not. Understand, like, does your team can support this or not? Like, assume you have an open source framework, and really any like framework you can use just end to end. You most frequently you have to modify and work on this, right? Assume it's written in C++ and you don't have C++ team in your, like, is it better for you to hire several people who support this, or maybe create your own in, let's say, Java? Just example, right? I don't talk about particular language. So these questions always have these multiple dimensions, which are really, sometimes you have to deliver something new. You have to deliver this project, and for this you have to evaluate LLM within 1 month for your company, right? And it will take more time to create evaluation framework, even if you believe for your operational requirement it's better to do this. So like you would prefer to have a buy one or use open source, and then if you need it, migrate, right? So there are multiple of these requirements in each case, but I think it's really important as you build any of such. I understand that in many cases you may make later, using, let's say, open source to train, not train, like deep learning frameworks. If you remember history, like frameworks like Cafe or Tiana were popular, like what, 5-6 years ago, right? Do you remember about them now, right? Assume you built your stack, which are heavily based with these frameworks, right? And so many years passed, right? It was TensorFlow, PyTorch. Nobody use Tiana now, right? So it's really important to build your software systems, production system especially, evaluable, such that you can replace subcomponents because of external environment change, because of your business change, because you created new technology much better. So I think, first again coming back, there are different decision points in every case decision. And what is good now, like whole LLM and AI now, so like there are a lot of open source, both models open source with weights, with checkpoints, but a lot of training, inference, other serving environments open source. So it's very good kind of environment for us to use a lot of open source. But even what is more important, as you build your system, make them evaluable, such that not every decision is in Hearthstone, not every decision will require you very expensive, long, human-consuming migration later. Migration should be reasonable, right? I saw Google, right? Everyone talks about Google, but Google had huge migration of the whole systems, multi-time, and big components like spell correction and so on, they were completely rewritten multiple times. And it will be true for any system, right? What you build. And it's really important to build this as a core of your system to make it evaluable.
Even Google, yeah. But one question that I definitely don't want to fail to ask is, from a career standpoint, you've pretty much aced it. Of course, you entered into industry with a PhD, and then you went straight to Google, and it kind of went on from there. So you're the perfect model of a great career. But let's say somebody has gotten a postgraduate certificate of some sort in AI and ML, and they're trying to figure out what their next step should be in their own journey, both from an education standpoint and from a career standpoint. Of course, you're going to go after what you're passionate about, as you did, for example. But aside from those kinds of statements, what kinds of advice would you give people today? What should they be focusing on?
I think, especially after you just graduated and you're postgraduate, right? The most important to think where you can learn the most, right? And when you can get the most experience. And they can be different, kind of obvious answer go to the most research advanced company, and of course you will go to the most advanced academic team there or research team, but it's not necessarily means always because sometimes a lot of really advanced stuff can be done in small company and startup which you found, right? So because you will learn how to build systems there. So I think super important to make this decision first before deciding for each particular companies what I want to learn, right? That's why I went to Google, because yes, I wanted to bring big impact, but I also want this learn what makes good engineering culture, what makes a really good software writing, how to be being a good researcher, become also good software engineer. And it may depends for different people, may be different. Maybe like a really good engineer and scientist, and you want to really learn how computer vision can be applied in business. And then the best choice can be like what the company really dependent on computer vision. Depends, right? You can select different paths, but something where I can become one of the top people in the world by this specific area I want to learn, and can be different. How to be like the fastest LLM inference, or how to make very important like for customers computer vision based application. So how to be an expert in robotics. It can be very different. But I would think as you think like how to start your career as your postdoc or PhD, like kind of what, and it's important to understand also long-term industry trend, right? You can learn some. I remember one my friend gave this kind of really good example about database area, right? So he's a researcher in data integration, right? And he told me I did my career in data integration because through all these years it's one of very important industrial areas, and people work in some other areas like maybe you remember in 80s and 90s it was like transaction management was very important, right? How much of research do you see now in transaction management? It's important problem, but it was solved by what industry needs, right? And there is not much requirement. So I would prioritize like kind of first think what area of expertise where you build your expertise will be valuable, but not like even 3 or 5 but like 10, 20 years. Like for example, certainly AI can change, like maybe transformer models will be not important in 5 years. AI as a whole will be important. Like search recommendation engine will be always important, right? There are multiple other different areas. And then think and move where I can learn the most, such that after I will be in this company, is it your company or you join someone else, such that your expertise will be very valuable on the market and you can continue your journey growing because you are well-known expert in that area.
Great advice. Well, Andrei, I just want to say thank you so much. I'd like to know, before we end, how can people get in touch with you?
I think the best way to find me on LinkedIn and connect with me on LinkedIn and then write message there. So if you type my name, Andrei Lopatenko, on LinkedIn, you can easily find me. I would be happy to connect with everyone. Give when I have some time, give some, if you need some advice about career, what to learn, would be really glad to help. So please contact me on LinkedIn and ask questions there.
Well, that's very generous of you. Well, Andrei, I really enjoyed this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, James. Thank you.
You've been listening to the AI Master Group Podcast. I'm your host, Jim Griffin. Until next time, stay curious and stay in front.